This is going to be Mark's correcting of re-editing to reveal Mark's truthful words out of all the words that are there. And I'm going to go through 1 through 16. Now, people are saying, what gives me the right to go and change words? Well, I'm telling you, our Creator made me see them 8 times, and I'm actually fulfilling Jesus' prophecy. The text will be at the top of that verse when you see the other screen of showing you what's going to happen after I reveal all the true truths about Jesus. There are many videos in the description box below that, hey, if you didn't know there was 12 commandments, there's 12 commandments. If you didn't know Jesus didn't walk on water, check that video out. You don't know the location where heaven is at? Down there in the video, I tell you that. These things are very important, and I can show you the corruption. And if you really want to see corruption, how stupid Jesus is, follow along, because I did this through Matthew. Now it's Mark's turn to go through here and see the true answers here and get rid of the junk that they've got stuck in here. So what I'm going to do is start here. Yeah, I gotta correct what's going on here. My chair isn't lined up with my computer at the top. Anyways, like I said, I'm trying to keep these to 40 minutes or whatever, but this is what I'm doing. These words that you see like this word I'm removing, and this word I'm adding, this word I'm adding, so the green will be adding. Sometimes I'm correcting the text, like written to prophesied, because it wasn't written. It was Isaiah who prophesied. And then down here, you don't need the words one. A voice means one. Okay, so let's just say that it doesn't matter. It's there already, and I'm taking the redundant words out. And the thing here is the wilderness. Now, yes, there's greenery down by the Jordan River, but there's desert on both sides, and it comes up at some time up maybe 400 or 700 feet to get just to sea level. And then when it still goes up on the sides to get into the hill country over here, and then over here on Jordan's side, it still goes up. And from up here, Moses looked down on the hill country, so there's no mountains in Israel. And I needed to add the words your, not of, for your king, not your Lord. It was prophesied that Jesus is coming as your king. That they all knew, so it wasn't your Lord, it is your king. And what you'll see, what you'll see here is how I'm noting the colors. Everything that'll be about Jesus will be in red. Just like if it's talking about his Christ, it's his Christ, meaning the title Christ has a meaning, and we'll get to that later. But every word here that's highlighted like this in this color, these are our Creator's words or his possession. And then God, his king, for he is righteous. You don't make his path straight. Make way for your Lord, make his path straight. Nobody can go and make Jesus's path straight, so you've been reading that, and it's just bullshit, okay? For he is righteous, meaning that he is obeying our Creator's command. Don't be using the secular dictionary to tell me what a word is in the Bible. These have meanings that are special, because our when it talks about Noah was a righteous male, that means he lived by obeying our Creator. Everyone who is righteous is living by our Creator's laws, commands, doing the best you can, and by Jesus' commands. He's going to give us some new laws in the Gospels here. So what happens is when I clean this up, this is what the text will be. Now, I know that I've got to move along. I just can't remember how quickly, because this is like my third attempt at this video too. The wilderness needed to make sure that was Jordan River, wilderness to Jordan River. Now, sometimes I started with putting in words that I was going to completely add that were new in gray text. Well, like the word after here. Later, I just decided that that's not going to happen. So at this time, I did that. Is a repentance for his forgiveness. John's baptisms were designed to replace the evil priests at that time. Okay, so those that were able, wanting to go to heaven, had to visit John to be forgiven their sins. Okay, he replaced the priest. Today's baptism is a bunch of bunk. It just doesn't exist. John was the one. You can't have any, but because Jesus replaces John. I show you that when he's baptized. That's the purpose. Jesus was forgiving us forever. Nobody else can forgive your sin. I don't care what you believed or what you've been told. You've been lied to. Now, I spoke earlier about the lands or the regions, how I changed them from Judea to Judah. So that is what I did here. All from the countryside, or all from the country. See, they called it a country here, but it's actually a region. I showed you the 3 regions in the last video, and I will in other videos, so just hang in there. They had to be many, not all or everyone, because Jews didn't believe in Jesus, so they surely weren't going to John. And then going out to him, they were coming to him, and not all, but many from Jerusalem, meaning Jerusalem was considered Israel's capital city, okay? And that held all the power and where the power is based for the rulers over the Israelis. That's why, yes, the first guy was Jerod. I renamed him because we had another Herod here when it comes into the 3 lands divided up by Rome, or the 3 areas divided up by Rome. This was for the purpose that when you overtook a place, Rome, you can see by the text that we have that say that the first Herod or Jared, he turned around and killed all those children. That probably was an upheaval. So then it was kind of like it was probably divided into 3 by Rome, got rid of him. But Israelis ruled over themselves, and if anything that they could not handle, then they took it to the governor of one of the areas that they were living in. This is how Rome was controlling people, not to just make their laws rule over them and listen to by ours. They left this area to be ruled over by people that lived in, or men that lived in Jerusalem. So, and here John wore, he was not clothed, but he wore ram's hide. It cannot be camel's hair. Camel's hair was an unclean animal. They were supposed to stay away from unclean things. So the thing here is that we don't need to have John wearing unclean animals. They're ram skins. People think they're sheep skins. Well, the thing here is a male sheep is known as a ram. And because it's a male dominant system, by understanding that a male has a seed, then it was all the children, Israelis were named from example. Elizabeth was a daughter from Aaron, okay, the descendants. So I'm keeping that with animals as well and naming it ram skins. Now, and with a rope, and he ate. Now it says around his waist. Well, we know where it's at when we know he's wearing a rope. So this just is not needed. Some things you should be able to understand. And he ate. They had only locusts and wild honey. You cannot live on wild honey. Okay. The thing here is that when you go look at the laws of what our Creator told him to eat, he could eat fish that had scales, okay, and insects that could hop on the ground. So these would have been the items that he could live on and live off the land that way. In the river, he probably would have drank, or when the streams came down, drank from there. Here he was heralding, not preaching, he was heralding. He was calling out to the ones that were traveling over the bridges. They would have had bridges going up and down Jerusalem or Jordan River for the simple fact that people would make it easier to cross their back and forth. So he would stand by one of these crossings and he'd be heralding to the people as they come by. And I had to add the word his Holy One. Our Creator refers to Jesus as his Holy One. One is coming, but capital letters, this has to be our Creator speaking of what he did or was called him. He prophesied this. This is prophecy here. And it's not mightier than I. It's just that you don't have somebody stronger than Jesus. That strength has nothing to do with this. So those words just aren't needed. And he was not worthy, not fit, but he was not worthy to untie his sandals. Okay? I'll baptize you in the water, but he will baptize you with his holy breath, meaning our Creator's words. Here again, breath is going to get probably changed to words later at some time. Now, this kind of junk happens all the time throughout all the text. It's just funny to see they needed that many words to put the words then there. Here's how they would, like I showed you Judea earlier, this is where they called the land or the region Galilee. And I guess I better pull that map up. Let's see. Come on, we've got to be quicker here on the march. Wow, I got a lot of maps here, so maybe I should put them in order so it gets easier. But here is the map that I'm talking about. They had named this area Galilee, and this was Judea. Well, I corrected it by saying this is how Israelis would call it. Now, yes, I did change the name because we know this is Jordan, so it's easy to remember or have the idea in your head that when you're reading the text where people are coming from, it's easier to know that than trying to remember the name that they had here. So let's get on with the text here. But I changed it to Israel and added the word river. And Jesus went up out from the water. They saw the heavens open, and his breath like a dove descended unto him. Okay, this I was talking about, I think, in the last video. Maybe it was earlier in here, but the thing here is this is what I was saying about Jesus being able to forgive sin, that he needed to have this oil poured on his head to anoint the priest before he's able to go into the Holy of Holies and speak with our Creator, whether that person's sin is forgiven or not. So here, I know there's another verse where it'll say that I will anoint him. So, but this is what this is talking about. Now, when I talked about the words heavens opening over here, heavens opening, whoops, what happened? Oh, I flipped the page here. Heavens opening. What does this mean? If you watch the video, I go show you all the text and go through everything of what I'm going to say right now, and that is that the star's motion or movement creates a mountain-like effect. If you've ever seen a picture of the North Star and how they got little swirls and more and more and more. Well, that's this mountain, and it's called Mount Zion in Psalms 48:2 in the far north. Well, the North Star is the far north, meaning the peak of that mountain. Now, that's known as the second heaven. Where our Creator lives is above the North Mountain or North Star, Northern Star, and that is where heaven is located. The third heaven is where the birds fly. So when it says the heavens opened in daylight, our blue disappeared, and there was the North Star, and they could see it, and they knew this breath was descending like a dove. Now, for you city slickers, this is really good because there's doves all over the place, and you can actually see this. But when a dove does this gliding before rest, most birds are always beating their wings until they land, and then they even take a few steps, like running when they land on a surface. But a dove will swoop back and forth, and just before he lands, he folds his wings up and he raises up, and then he'll come right straight down and descend it upon him. So don't tell me that you're making a spirit out of a dove. You don't understand what a dove does to know what it's like a dove. Okay? And then YHVH'S voice came out from heaven, and don't need these words please with you. If you see down here, I've got it as Jesus he's talking about. But notice the word spirit here. Then a spirit. Well, we know it's Satan, so let's just put Satan in there. And he took him, okay? This word is just too hard for a 12-year-old to understand what's going on. And it was into the desert. Now, if I bring this up here, now I don't know how many crossings are through here, but somewhere in here, I think where the text is going to say that John was by this place, this city, and John was baptizing. So we know that probably within 2 miles of the river up and down where Jesus was baptized. But when Satan took him, this dark gray area here, whoops, this is all desert, okay? Much of it is desert. Right around, there's green around the water, yes. But even in this area and this area. Now, most likely it was going to be this area because pretty soon the story is going to say that right after Satan, he went to Lake Galilee, and this is where he's going to pick up the disciples. So a lot of this stuff isn't going to happen, or it's got to happen before he picks up his disciples. So this is going to give some very accurate text when we get to that part and when you see them combined together in desert. Now, 40 days, you become very thin, very weak. In fact, after I think 30 days under the medical today, that your muscles start deteriorating and they're damaged. I think for a very long time before they actually, if you start eating again, that you can actually have your muscles regroup. So 40 days is just not true. But if you're there for days, then yes, you would have got hungry. But 40, no. He was with wild beasts, and angels were ministering to him. Well, if they were ministering to him, he wouldn't be hungry like you see in the text. So that just needs to be removed. Then John was arrested, not taken, imprisoned, because we know that the story that once John was in prison, then he was beheaded. So to arrest him, the words will come around that give us why he arrested him. Because if you take somebody into custody, you can release them, but that isn't what's true. He's going to be arrested and he's going to be in prison. And then Jesus went to Lake Galilee. Needed to add the word lake. See that there's that text that I was looking for right here in this verse, that he was in the desert and he went to Lake Galilee. And he was declaring, it is time for my kingdom from YHVH, meaning that he is supposed to go around and tell them the favorable year of the Lord. And I've said that a few times. We're going to get to that verse at some point in there. Maybe I'll look it up and get it, and then I'll have that handy next time to see what's going on. But from YHVH, repent and believe me. Don't believe in, it was, I think, in my gospel. The gospel is what Jesus is teaching. He is actually declaring it is time for his kingdom from YHVH. That's what the word gospel means. When you're doing a search for a word, you want to look at the definition and find a very solid definition. You have to go through and grab all the words that would say gospel, put them together, and you can figure out that. I believe I did a video on that, and that should be in the list below. And he was going along, he walked along the lake shore, not the sea, because the Galilee is a freshwater lake. So it is a lake shore. Galilee is a lake, but they've lied to you for so long that you call it Sea of Galilee, but there's no saltwater fish in there. So it can't be a sea. And they were brothers. And this here bothered me, of Simon. I don't know why they put the word of there, but brothers casting their nets into the water, not sea, water. And they were casting. As they were casting, Jesus told them. Every time you see the word said, I'm pretty much tried to put down, he told them. But when you read this part, what Jesus is saying, then you know it is about, he's either commanding, or he told them, or he replied, or he answered, okay? Not the word said every time. Now here I've got the word fishers, I changed to catchers for man. Down here, I've got it noted that I should change it back to fishers for man. So I think I should correct it here. And fishers not of, but for man. It used to be men, and our Creator's definition to the word man is male and female. So everybody today, that when you say man, you're thinking it's a male. Well, you're in the secular world. Congratulations, you are following our Creator's definitions. Here, I don't need the word the son of Zebedee. It's actually coming up. Okay, yeah, I can show you here. So I'm not getting rid of the text. It's just that when I was starting to repeat, it needed to be removed. I think that's pretty simple. Whoops. I wanted to stop here, so that's what I did. I stopped here and go from there. And that's stopped at 16, and I will start at 18. Although I only got, I got 24 minutes going. Nope, I'm going to continue here. I'm trying to make them 40 minutes long. Don't need the word immediately left by left. And their nets to follow him. And I don't know if the word is nets. I think that should be without an in. They left their net and followed him because they were in the boat mending their net. What happens here in these boats, now they aren't big enough to carry 13 full, I would say adult men, 13 of them in a boat, okay? These boats were for these three to go out and work and to gather fish. And what they would have had was like some way to be able to pull their net out and around, and after they set it there and they're chum with the water with their bait, and then somehow they would take the rope and bring it together that would tie the bottom of the net, and then they would raise the net and then they'd bring the net in to gather the fish. So I'm not sure how it's actually done, but when you're thinking about these things, you try to get a mental picture of what's going on, and I have a hard time figuring that one out. So he called to them too. Don't need this. If they were with hired servants, that would be a lot more people in the boat, or are they referring to another boat that had to be alongside of them? But so it wouldn't be his boat, it would be their boat. But I'm just going to say it was their boat and they were fishing, and these hired servants, they didn't exist and followed him. They went to Capernaum. Here I was telling you about how Jesus was going to start going up to Galilee, and this is where it's at now. Along there's different cities, and this one is at the top of the area. Let me see here. I'm looking for a map to be able to show you. Now the map was made. I didn't want to remake all these maps, but this is just showing you from our Creator's everlasting promises in his hidden format, how I get to all these places here. And this little area that's missing here is the city Galilee, or not Galilee, but Capernaum. So this is the path for Jesus. Let me see here. Yeah, this one here has Capernaum. But this is what he was doing, was walking along up to here, along the shore. Okay, so we have that. And he didn't teach, he taught as having authority. I think I went over that in the first video, showed you some text that how he does that. When they ask a question, he gives a couple examples, then he gives the reasonings behind his thinking, or how they should be knowing the answer. Some people can really teach other people by forcing them to make them think, and Jesus was one of them to be able to do that. So I'm just saying it was a special way that made him have this speaking from authority. Now, I'm not going to go through all these little these things here. I'm going to go through the hard ones and try to show you. Unclean spirit. A spirit, unclean spirit, would have to mean a demon. A clean spirit would be an angel. So I made a video. It's got all, I think, 90 words of the word spirit in the 4 gospels. And I go through that and I explain and how I clean them up and how it's so easy to say an unclean spirit is a demon. So let's not be called unclean spirit and have demons as well. We're just going to give them what they are. You came to destroy. Now, Jesus, you can't. Our Creator tells us in the Hebrew text that nobody can kill the soul. So the thing here is if to destroy us would mean to kill, and Jesus can't do that. So it's to cast me out from him. Now, when you see the word us is being changed to me, this text here is not speaking as there's many of them, okay? But they know you are their Holy One from YHVH. I know you are the Holy One from YHVH. Notice I didn't have to change the letter I here. Even the text revealed this, that he was a single, a male with a demon, and they had left it I as well in this verse. Like I said, see how the word rebuke is in some of these? And then it's just said, doesn't need to say be quiet. Jesus said, just come out from it. Throwing him. This throwing him, I needed to change it and maybe say what it is. As the male went into convulsions, the demon cried out. So we don't need to, it has a loud voice. He cried out, that's either a shouting or being said loudly. As he came from him, and those that were there, they don't need the word all. We already have they. That means those that were watching were amazed and debated among themselves, so that they had a debate? No. And they debated among themselves, saying, what is this new teaching by authority, not with authority, but by authority? And then got rid of unclean spirits here again. Immediately, this news about him went out everywhere into the surrounding district or areas by the Lake Galilee. I'm getting rid of this verse here because Jesus is up at Lake Galilee to the surrounding areas by Lake Galilee, which would have been over on the Judean side, or where Jordan is at, and on the Israeli side, that area, that this was going on in that area, that this is where this was spread. I'm just keep looking at the time. Sorry about that. All these words aren't needed. All you need to do is say, after he went into a home went into the home of Simon and Andrew with James and John. Now, why am I using the word home instead of the word house? That's because I'm trying to make sure that when they say they're going into Zachariah's house where a lot of people can come and have servants. He most likely had servants because he was wealthy. That I will use as the word home or house. This home is a small family dwelling, okay? So trying to even clean up the smallest words so when you read the text, you know that a house is going to be bigger than a home. I had to add the word deadly fever here for the simple fact that they knew when people were going to die back then that they had a fever that couldn't be broke. It just means that she was going to not pretty much be alive much longer. So I had to add the word deadly fever to make it something amazing that after Jesus went in and helped her up. They healed her. So this word might be healed. I got an example. I got that noted for next time. But that her fever left. Then she waited on them. Now, all these other words aren't needed. Let's see. Taking her by the hand, he helped her up. The thing here is this, what happened afterwards here is that the whole city gathered at the door, okay? Well, you don't need that to be said, but the thing here is the text is saying that her friends around her knew that she was going to die, and she most likely got up and they seen her walking around, probably asked her what's going on. So Jesus was just here, just healed me. So he just picked me up and I'm okay. So the thing here is that news, because when you live in a community as they did, they would have had that news spread very quickly. So the thing here is he healed every disease and various diseases, but over here, all who were ill, who had is already here, that had a demon, not demon possessed. If you got a demon, you got a demon, had a demon. So this is already saying that they were coming to him, okay? Now, I know I'm reading these kind of in reverse because it gets kind of funny, because when evening had come after the sun rose, now this is kind of like when evening had come, that's like, does it tie up with the verses up here? No, it doesn't. So this just has to be taken out. So after the sun rose, the news about her was, they came to him, okay? They didn't begin bringing, they brought. Yeah. Now here's something Jesus is stupidly saying here. Now, did you read this? He did not permit the demons to speak because they knew who he was. Well, Jesus going around telling everybody who he is. He wants them to know who he is. So that wouldn't be something Jesus said. He would be stupid because it's they knew who he was. He wanted them, everybody around there, to witness who he was. So that text was just pretty much stupid words. And these are going to be the last verses I go over before I end this video. So let's see here. Early morning, he went to a lonely place to pray. Okay, so they weren't companions. They were disciples. Jesus said, "Follow me." This is Simon. These 4 men that we've got right now are disciples. So they're not companions. And looked for him. Because he told them to follow him. So all of a sudden he disappeared out of it, and they had to go look for him. And when they found him, they told him, "We have been looking for you." But Jesus told them, didn't say to them, told them, "Let us go somewhere else nearby." Don't need the word towns. In order for me to teach there. Also, that what I came out for, that is what I came out for. No, that just, too many words don't make much sense. Let's cut it off, and it reads really smooth down here. But that's going to be the end of this video, and I'm going to have to fix this, center this, my chair up somehow with the camera here. But anyways, that's what I got to do. But anyways, this